Alrighty guys, so as you can tell, this is a boat and we are working on a motor, or focused on the motor right now. This is a Stingray model 192RX. It's a powerboat Stingray and it's got the MerCruiser 3.0, as you can tell right there. And it's got some issues. As you can tell, this is the way we got it. The cover was loose, and that cover was just slightly on there without no gasket for the rocker arms or the push rods. And this is something new to me. Well, not really new, but not something that we do common. But here we have something that's unknown issue, and we have to find out what's going on. So as we can tell, everything's just kind of loosely on there, whatever this gasket is, and just kind of sitting on there. But as you can tell, as I read, the lifters and stuff are loose, supposed to be tight. So that means they're not oiled up, or the oil hasn't been pumped up. So we have to figure all this stuff out and make sure everything is the way we want it to be. So my thing right now is I want to hook it up to power and pump up the oil in these lifters. Also, we already went ahead and took off the front mount of the engine, and we stacked up some blocks to hold it up. And as you can tell, we got a few good contact points on the body right there. And now we need to clean up this area so that way we can set up the timing and stuff like that. And so that way we can see zero mark and stuff like that. So all these rocker arms and stuff like that were all loose. So nothing was set. So we need to go ahead and preset everything, make sure we have the firing order. I believe it's 1, 2, or 2, 3, 4, something like that. But actually it says it on here, 1, 4, 3, 2, right here, firing order. And engine rotation is left hand, so it's gotta rotate to the left. And yeah, so we're just kind of trying to catch up what's going on here, what's been missing. So as I hear, they had the head surfaced and then they put it on, and those are the spark plugs. As you can tell, they're pretty bad. I mean, they're pretty good, but this is, I guess, cylinder number 4, the furthest one away. But yeah, so we'll figure this out, try to see what's up. But my main thing is trying to turn this over and make sure it's rotating good. There's no knocks, no nothing. I did already rotate everything, and I put some oil in there, pulled the spark plugs out. So I want to hear this thing, and hopefully we can hear this thing turn over and see what's up. So let's go. Alrighty guys, so here we are with the starter, and this is from a 3.0 MerCruiser, and the starter has been locked up. We slightly freed it up, it's working, so we know it's somewhat good. So we're gonna go ahead and clean it up because this gear is not sliding out when engaging, so it's not engaging into the flywheel. So we're gonna need to clean this thing up and make sure it's working before we purchase a new one, or else we'll just have to purchase one. And yeah, so we're going to remove this bracket right here, and then we're gonna dive into the inside and slowly take it apart and lay it out. Let's go. Alrighty guys, got the starter pretty much well cleaned up. So we got this thing right here. So we got the commentators all cleaned up, scuffed them up, polished them out with a Scotch pad. Also where the magnets are, that's where that piece sits in. Got that thing all nice and clean. Polished these areas out with the Scotch-Brite, made them nice and smooth. Same as this area. That's where the little gear sit in there. These 3 gears. Got that all cleaned up. Now we'll put a little bit of grease on all those areas and slap this puppy together and hope for the best. Alrighty, let's see after assembly if this thing works. Alrighty guys, as you can tell the starter's apart once again. So we pulled off the solenoid right here, and you can tell that this was seized up right here, which wasn't retracting that gear on this end right here. So it was stuck closed like this, and it was completely seized, rusted, would not move up. So I pulled it out with the claw hammer, and then I sprayed a lot of WD-40 on that area right here, and then I put a lot of grease and just kind of worked it out, made sure it works. And now it's retracting and that gear is moving out pretty good. So now let's go ahead and put this thing together. Hopefully this thing works. Alrighty guys, I got the negative on the outside housing, and then we got the positive on this side of the solenoid right here. And now we're gonna touch that and this to activate it. And let's go. Man, this thing's so powerful now. But you can tell that it is being activated fairly strong now. That thing is super powerful now. Oh yeah, this thing is ready to go back into the boat, and we should hear this thing ripping shortly. And then we can set the motor and the lifters and all that stuff and the rockers, adjust everything just right so we can have the motor spinning over by the starter. Let's go put this thing back in. Alrighty guys, starter's installed, as you can tell right there. So we started spinning the engine over, as you can tell. Got some oil pumping, pumped up the lifters. Every single lifter is nice and tight. I checked it in certain different ways, made sure on each push rod is loose, and then I pushed it down and everything looks pretty good. So I'm pretty happy with that. So let's go ahead and see. We'll turn the key. So it's spinning over, which I'm pretty happy. That's a good sign. It was having spark, so that's even a better sign. Pumping oil, so definitely we'll have oil pressure. So that's really good. And we'll go from there. Now we can adjust the push rods. We can set them because the lifters are all pumped up and they should be good to go. And we'll go to that and start putting things back together. Now we can go ahead and buy our gaskets and stuff and look into that. Alrighty guys, let's go. Let's get this thing rolling. Alrighty guys, so here we are back with this engine. So we got all the rocker arms and push rods all set just right. So as you can tell, the firing order is 1, 2, 3, 4. And I just wrote it on this tube right here so that way I just know. I just labeled it 1, 2, 3, 4. That's for firing order. And then basically first cylinder, second cylinder, third cylinder, fourth cylinder. And then to set the timing on the compression stroke up on first cylinder, you want to set the 0, and then you just basically set 2E exhaust, and then 3 intake. You can set that one also, and then you can set 4E, and I marked them in 4E exhaust. So 3 on that mark right here, you set it on 0 right there, and that notch right there, and then you spin it exactly 180 degrees, 360 degrees, and basically it's going to be a compression all the way down, which you can set everything else, which will be 1E, 1I, basically exhaust intake, and then you can set 2 intake, and then you can set 3 exhaust, and this one is 4 intake. That's the rest of them. You set them, basically you set it where the push rods are slightly spinning, and then you tighten that bolt. You set some tension on it. When it stops rotating the rod, then you tighten this bolt. So you tighten it, so if you're right here, you do 3/4. So you spin from here all the way around, and you stop right here. So you leave this area of tightening, basically 1/4 of tightening. And then, okay, here it is. So basically it's a 5/8 bolt. So if you set right here, and then you tighten from here all the way like that, 3/4 of a turn, and that's to set the lash, and then you should be good. Now we are going to put everything together and put the front mount, and I just vacuumed out all the fuel. So as you can tell, the fuel is pretty bad right here, and then we got 2 more right there. Bunch of water and stuff, not good. And then same as this, just a bunch of trash in there. So we are going to get this all put back together and try to see if we can fire this thing over. We want to prime the fuel first, and once we prime the fuel, we'll put everything back together. Alrighty, let's go. So we got the gaskets for the boat now, since we know that it works and everything. So now we got to remove all the old gaskets, and here's the old gasket, which had a lot of RTV on it and stuff like that. So we cleaned the valve cover up. So we got the gasket for the valve, for the push rods, and the lifters right here, the side cover gasket. Then this is the exhaust gasket. As you can tell, it's got a lot of RTV there, so we're gonna replace that. Then this is for that cover. It has the special grommets screws, seals for the rocker side, not the rocker side, for the push rods and lifter sides right here. As you can tell, we're missing screws, and this one's completely rusted out, so we need to put a gasket there. So now that we know that it works, and this is for the valve cover. New ones were super expensive, so we bought used ones for like $5. And yeah, pretty much getting ready to assemble this thing and hear this puppy rip at the water. And then we got to work on the cables. Seems like the cables are jammed up or froze up, so let's go and get this engine ripping again. Alrighty guys, took off the exhaust elbow and was going to replace just this exhaust elbow gasket, and took it apart, and there was some severe rust, delamination, and separation. So decided to take it completely off, and as you can tell, we had a whole bunch of rust just start falling out. You would tap it, just slightly pry it with a screwdriver. Still gonna run it just the way it is, but if it were to start leaking somewhere, we're gonna know exactly why. Or if something were to clog up and the motor were to slightly overheat, we'd know exactly why, because the water ports would get clogged up, and since it's pretty big chunks, it would probably close up the water ports and would have some issues. Kind of dangerous, but I guess we'll risk it for right now, and we'll take it to the lake and test it out, make sure everything's somewhat running, and then we'll do a full maintenance on this if wanted, I guess. But yeah, you can still see that separation in there, in that port right there. But let's go. Alrighty guys, as you can tell, the boat's all put together. Everything looks pretty good. Everything's pretty much buttoned up. So we had to go ahead and still replace the fuel pump. So we got ourselves a new fuel pump and a few other little things. Rebuilt a starter. Got ourselves a new battery. We did a quick disconnect right here, so that should help us from any problems when we store it. Got that all set and everything. It's charging the battery, everything's good. All this is pretty good right here. The drive oil reservoir, everything looks pretty good. We changed out the oil, replaced it, put a new oil filter right there, so it's all fresh. We fixed the carburetor and we made a bracket. Fixed a few little issues here and there and changed out all the seals and stuff. We got that fixed up right here, so we got a new bracket, and we made this whole system work again. Had to adjust the trims and stuff like that. So let's go ahead and see if we can hear the thing work. So it works on the button, and also when we press that, it works. But other than that, we should be good to go. Now let's go and check out this thing right here. Had to take this apart to loosen up the throttle cable, or the gear engage throttle. Had to set all that. Had to adjust these. Had to set those things, and everything else looks pretty good. So there's still a lot of stuff to do, like minor stuff like interior, the seats and stuff like that. The air ducts, the bilge pump probably has to be replaced. These areas and stuff, a bunch of little stuff, just like that right there. But other than that, we're pretty good. Alrighty, we got the water on. Let's go ahead and turn this puppy on and hear this thing rip. Usually she starts right up without any throttle button pushing right here to just engage some pumping for the fuel. So let's go ahead and try to hear this run. Puppy starts right up. Should be good to go. Got that plastic shield hitting on the flywheel area. But other than that, she sounds good. Some of the gauges don't work. That all needs to be updated. But other than that, she's good to go. She's a ripper. It's a fun little project. Yeah, this is the caddy version. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. Seats 8 people. So hopefully we'll see a fully finished product, and we'll keep you updated. But other than that, she rips pretty good. Oh yeah, let's go. Stay tuned, guys.